How's it going, everyone? How are you doing today? I am going over my review. I'm reviewing, rather, the Chelsea versus Sevilla game. It was a very solid game for Chelsea, an intense contest throughout the game where Chelsea were just the more clinical side. We were just throughout the game, I guess Giroud was more clinical and weren't nearly as wasteful as Sevilla, who gave up a lot of golden opportunities, had a lot of chances up front, and they just really couldn't do anything with any of those chances. But with that being said, let's get right into the lineups. For Sevilla, they ran a 4-3-3. They had Pastore in goal. Vatslik got injured in the warm-up, so they had to start Pastore over him. In their defense, on the left, they had Rekic. Their two center backs, Diego Carlos and Sergio Gomez. On the right, Jesus Navas. Their center mid trio, they had Rodriguez, Gudel, and Rakitic. And up top, on the left, they had Idrissi. Up top, they had Enesiri. And on the right, they had Vasquez. And for their subs, Kunde, Jordan, Albert Torres, Ocampos, Munir, Fernando, De Jong, Vasquez, Azana, Gonzalez, and Romero. Long list. I love Champions League. Kunde, Jordan, Albert Torres, Ocampos, and Munir all made appearances for Sevilla off the bench. Now for Chelsea, they played a 4-2-3-1. Again, that's a variation on a 4-3-3. It's just a sort of different take on it. But regardless, we had Edouard Mendy in goal, an entirely rotated defense with Emerson on the left, Rudiger and Christensen, the center back duo. On the right, Azpilicueta, the two holding midfielders in this formation, Jorginho and Kovacic. The attacking mids on the left, Pulisic down the middle, Kai Havertz on the right, Hudson-Odoi, and up top, the main man, Olivier Giroud, who just killed it today. It was excellent. On their bench, though, we had Gilmore, Ziyech, Kante, Werner, Mount, Caballero, Alonso, Kepa, James, Chilwell, Abraham, and Fikayo Tomori. Billy Gilmore, Ziyech, Kante, Werner, and Mount all made appearances off the bench, albeit a couple of them only came on for about 5 minutes or so. Let's get right into the first half. Right away in the first minute, we had two misplaced passes where we were pressing. We had good momentum going, and immediately we just gave it away. I think it was Hudson-Odoi and Kovacic who were responsible for the two bad passes early. Thankfully, that didn't set the pace for the rest of the game. I was a bit worried right off the bat. I was already like, oh no, here we go. We're going to give Sevilla a ton of possession, and even though we kind of did later on, not in that way. We weren't entirely wasteful when we were attacking. Through solid pressing, though, we were able to keep Sevilla at bay early. Good, really good. Right away in the first 10 minutes, we were keeping them at bay. We were pressing high, and we were just keeping them back. And it paid off in the 8th minute. The pressure paid off with a goal. Kai Havertz had to run straight down the middle. I believe his run started about halfway into the field. Ran all the way through their midfield, made it to about the 18. Laid it off for Giroud. Took a touch and pushed the ball from his right to his left. Put it into the back of the net to make it 1-0 with an early goal. Now, our reaction to that wasn't the greatest. From the first, like I said, for the first 10 minutes, Chelsea it was all Chelsea. We just dominated the first 10 minutes until we decided to ease off the pedal after the goal for some reason, and we allowed Sevilla to get their much desired possession. Sevilla loves possession, and they wanted it, and they got it. We gave it to them. From there, though, they revealed their game plan to us. They pretty much told us what their game plan was. They're going to move the ball. They're going to keep passing in order to keep possession and try and tire out Chelsea so they can try and catch us while we're slipping. And that was their game plan. And it worked, kind of. I mean, if they took advantage of their chances, honestly, they might have put up a much better fight in this game in terms of the scoreline. It was an intense game, but they just were very wasteful up front. Of note, the 19th minute, there was a VAR check for handball after Sevilla shot. I think it was Rakitic who took the shot. The ball goes through. It looked immediately like it it hit Christensen's arm, but it really hit Christensen and Rekic. And hit Christensen's arms were a bit tangled, so the ball comes in, hits basically both their arms. And I'm going to put it a little more Rekic, to be honest, because he was kind of holding Christensen. He probably knew what he was doing, trying to force the handball. But at the end of the day, it hit both of them. And so there was no penalty after the VAR check. From that point on, like I said, Sevilla were really just... I mean, they had a good press going, but they really just weren't doing anything. In the 37th minute, they got a chance through Kovacic. He brought down Oscar Rodriguez from about 5 yards out from the 18-yard box, maybe a little less. right down the middle as well. And I was really annoyed because I was a dumb foul. Not only that, but he picks up a yellow card because of it. It was really, he got beat, and so he decided to just foul the player, and it was a really dumb foul. Could have resulted in something that was much worse. But Rakitic steps up, takes the free kick, and immediately bounces off the wall, and it goes to Pulisic, and the ball comes, kind of hits him here, bounces down. He did well to keep his arms at his side. You know, all the Sevilla players naturally were like, oh, handball, handball. But if you watch the replay, it hit him like almost, you know, in the family jewels, not in a good place, but hit him down close to his midriff and bounced down. Did well to keep his hands to the side, did well to keep him away, and no handball, thankfully, no penalty. So we moved on with the game. It was a pretty uneventful rest of the half in terms of shots or really good chances aside from Giroud's goal. That was really the big chance right in the entire first half. It was pretty uneventful, but there was a lot of action going on. It was pretty action packed nonetheless. It was a very high tempo game, physical game. Like I said in my predictions, Sevilla as a whole was very wasteful of any good opportunity that they had. Not that Chelsea were much better, but at least, you know, when we pressed, we felt dangerous, and I feel like we did deserve the 1-0 lead. Some quick player notes though for the first half. Hudson-Odoi had a pretty rough start to the game. He was quite wasteful at the start of the half, but he quickly turned it around, and by the 20th minute he was a lot more dangerously involved. He's a lot more positively involved up top. Azpilicueta, sluggish all throughout the first half. I think the highlight of me saying he's sluggish was when Christensen made I think it was Christensen who made a simple pass to him, and he just like froze and it went out of bounds. That could come down to, you know, not enough game time, but in this game he picked it up in the second, but I still think he didn't make enough of a case for him to make the starting 11 on a good day. You know, when we have to play our strongest lineup, I don't see Azpilicueta still in there. I still see James and Chilwell over him, and maybe even Emerson. Emerson had a pretty good game today, so I'd probably put Emerson over him too. And another note, Pulisic was a bit selfish in the first half. He had a couple of chances. The first one came around the 20th minute or so. He had a chance to lay the ball off. He didn't even look up. He didn't even look up for a pass, and he tried it himself, and it was a very selfish play from him. Definitely could have done something better. The shot off wasn't great at the end of the day. The second chance he had, he made a good run, and ultimately, I personally think hindsight's 20/20, but I personally think maybe he could have laid it off, and we would have had a better chance of scoring from that opportunity. He did make a good run. He dropped the player, did well. I think he dropped his shoulder, and the player, you know, slipped, and he did well to get around his players. He decided to take a shot. It just didn't really result in anything. I think personally, again, hindsight's 20/20, but I think him laying it off probably would have been the better option. But with that being said, we head into the second half, and quite honestly, we picked up right where we left off. Sevilla was enjoying possession, which put the onus more on our defense to defend, to keep the lead, and in the first 8 minutes or so is about how long we had to defend. Gudel did have a solid chance in the 49th minute with a powerful shot that he put over the bars towards the right side of the goal. Puts it over the bar with a very powerful shot and on target. I don't know if Mendy's saving that. If he does, I think that more than likely it comes back into open play and is still a dangerous ball that Sevilla can capitalize on. But like I said, Sevilla really only enjoyed a lot of control over the game in the first 8 minutes, because in the 54th minute, 9 minutes into the first half, Kovacic did well to lay it off to Giroud, who put it over Pastor, their keeper, and made it 2-0. Olivier Giroud has his brace up to this point. However, Sevilla still weren't completely out of the game. It still felt like maybe they had a chance. I mean, right when they came out of the second half, it felt like they had a chance to try and equalize. And obviously we go up 2-0. Still felt like there was a chance that maybe they could pull something out of this game if they just were more clinical. Chelsea did have a great attacking flow after the second goal though, and that's when we really started to enjoy more possession. Not all of the possession, but we definitely started to enjoy more than we had in the first half and started to get a strong foothold in the game. Around the 60th minute, the commentators did make a comment about making a sub, and especially for Pulisic, they specifically singled out Pulisic to try and protect him, to try and protect our players that are more likely to start against Leeds, and I fully agreed. And soon after, Lampard did make the subs. He brought on Conte, Mount, and Ziyech for Havertz, Pulisic, and Kovacic respectively. And right away, Mason Mount, 69th minute, he brought a through ball down with his chest and tried to take the volley on, but unfortunately he scuffed his shin, and he just couldn't get off the power he would have wanted and couldn't take advantage of that opportunity to score almost immediately after he came on. But beyond that, we were working incredibly hard to keep the pressure and try to force Sevilla back, prevent them from getting a foothold in the game, prevent them from getting a lot of possession. And it paid off in the 74th minute. Conte, of all people, whipped in a beautiful cross, and Giroud rose up. Giroud, the man who always heads so many headed goals. I genuinely wonder how many of his goals are headed goals. The cross comes in, Giroud puts it home and secures his perfect hat trick. He scored with the left in his first goal, he scored with his right in his second goal, and he scored with his head in the third goal. And although the game was fairly back and forth throughout, Chelsea definitely felt like the more dangerous of the two sides. And like I said, a lot of it came down to how wasteful Sevilla was and how they didn't really have a sense of urgency up front. They really didn't. There was no like, I'll take the shot, take the shot, take the shot. They were just very sluggish and wasteful, and they were taking shots that were super unnecessary, trying to cross balls that were incredibly unnecessary, and again, incredibly wasteful. I would have been really disappointed if that's how Chelsea played. But we maintained a high level of intensity in that second half, which kept Sevilla at bay, despite them having some chances up front. Like I said, they were wasteful, but we kept a high intensity, which did keep them at bay. Our defense did really well today. In the 82nd minute, Giroud is brought down in the box by Sergio Gomez, and a penalty is awarded. It's a very obvious foul. Gomez drags him down pretty much, and Giroud steps up and buries the penalty, buries it in the right side of the goal to make it 4-0. 4 for him. He put in an amazing shift today and definitely deserves a start in the upcoming game against Leeds, which is why I think immediately after he was brought off for Werner, and Billy Gilmore came on for someone who I cannot remember right now. Gilmore came on for Jorginho. Quickly check my notes right there. And we were able to just see out the game from that point. There weren't a ton of opportunities either way. Werner actually did have some kind of chance, if you can call it that, right after he came on, but again, like, we were just able to see out the second half and see out the 4-0 scoreline. And overall, I just thought it was a very solid performance from Chelsea from front to back, especially with a few key players missing, most namely our entire defense being rested. The fact that our second string can come in and do well is a huge testament to the depth that we have now, and just the amount of talent that we have now, and how hard selecting our first 11 is going to be from this point on, assuming hopefully everyone stays healthy and COVID free. We were able to keep Sevilla at bay for the most part this entire game. We did give them unnecessary possession in the first half, but it didn't come back to bite us. That is something we probably should be wary of going into the other games, because there will likely be other teams who won't let us get off the hook. But to go over a couple interesting facts here. This is the third time going into this game. It's the third time Sevilla have remained unbeaten in their first 4 Champions League group stage matches. However, the streak continues that they have never been unbeaten in their first 5 in a single edition of the competition before. They have never ever gone 5 straight in the Champions League group stage without losing. In my second interesting fact, it's an interesting one if you're superstitious. Chelsea have now won 4 consecutive Champions League matches for the first time since March and April of 2012. The year, if you know, the year that we won our one and only Champions League. So if you're superstitious, that is a big deal to you. If you're not, it probably doesn't matter to you because it's a whole new season. But I thought that was really interesting, really fun. But like I mentioned, huge win for Chelsea. It's a big confidence booster with going to Sevilla's home. It's a tough place to play, especially for English opposition. I don't remember the statistic they gave out, but statistically, English opposition does not do well at Sevilla's home. And we came in with a huge win, albeit, home field advantage a bit, but we still went there, came in with a huge win and top of the group. And although we might not get the easiest matchup in the round of 16, we can still ride this high throughout, the rest of this month, January, going into February, when we have our first leg. And by the time the round of 16 comes about, we'll likely be in even better form than what we're in right now. We'll still have to face those difficult teams, Bayern, in the en route to potentially getting to the final. So it's not the end of the world that we get a tough side right off the bat like Atletico. It's not a big deal because we're going to have to face tough teams eventually if we really want to seriously get to the final of this competition and win. Finally, though, Giroud is so underrated and is such a clutch player. I really hope that we don't lose him in January. I hope Lampard can integrate him in some way, and he at least, or at the very least, he sticks around for the rest of the season. And his concern is getting into the Euros, but I genuinely believe that he could still get into the Euros even without a consistent starting role. He's just that good of a player. He's a clutch player. He's so super underrated. Came up big against the Sevilla side, who looked solid defensively, but Giroud was just too much for them, and he did incredibly well today. He got an 11 out of 10 for me. He was the super man of the match today. He did incredibly well. Probably the best performance from a Chelsea player this season, I'd argue, or at least one of top 3 probably. Best performance from a Chelsea player this season, not just because he scored 4 goals, but because of the presence he had up front. But overall, solid win over Sevilla, huge 4-0. And we're going into the round of 16, first place. Huge. But if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Go check out these socials in the description. My Twitter is @BlueHermit1. My Instagram is @BlueHermit_. Please share the socials to your friends, family, everybody know. Let the people know Blue Hermit's where it's at, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.